So I'm reviewing this Abraham Accord where the State Department and Trump and all that are trying to get all the Islamic countries in the region of Greater Israel, to sign this Abraham Accord. Now I want to make something real clear. Abraham was not Jewish. Abraham was not born into the religion of Judaism. It's a religion, it's not a race. And I hate to break your heart, but Jews are not Semitics. But Palestinians damn sure are, and Lebanese are, and Syrians are, and et cetera, so on and so forth. Lots of people from Mesopotamia and let's see, Iraq and Afghanistan and Pakistan and on and so forth. Iraq, they're Semitic, but the Jews, no. Jewishness is not a race. Let's get that real clear, Donald Trump. Being a Jew doesn't make you a member of a race. It makes you a member of a religious cult. Now let's move along here to Alex Jones and Doc Chambers being sued by the Harrises down there to Colony Ridge. I want to make something perfectly clear. Kings Colony, write that down. Kings Colony was on my red flag illegal subdivisions list back in 1986 and 1987. In other words, Kings Colony, Precinct 4 of Montgomery County is where it all started, Alex Jones. Like I've been telling you for the last 40 years. You remember the guy who got you on cable access TV there in Austin? You remember that guy? Yeah, exactly. Alex Jones. Come on, buddy. Let's talk about all the real estate schemes and scams and swindles of Texas. It's been going on down there for Christ since they settled Harrisburg on the Buffalo Bayou there with, what the hell was that guy's name there? Wyatt Earp Harris or some crap. Yep. But let's get back to the point. Subprime predatory bank looting, subprime predatory mortgage foreclosures, subprime predatory money laundering, vast amounts of subprime predatory money laundering. Write that down. Subprime predatory money laundering by the largest banks in the world. Addie Polk, Patrick Lovell, Addie Polk, she wasn't the only victim. Sorry, Eric Vaughn, but Addie Polk was one of millions. They got suckered in those money laundering racketeering schemes called subprime predatory mortgages by the dirtiest, filthiest racketeering banks in human history. That's going to Alex Jones lawyers and to Doc Chambers attorneys and to the judge that will be sitting on the Liberty County, Texas case of Colony Ridge versus Alex Jones and Doc Chambers. Folks, I'm going to tell you something. This giant robbery, this racketeering robbery of the American banking system, it's all about real estate. It's all about crooked, unrecorded, red flag, wildcat, ghost phantom, subprime, non-border colonialists. Didn't the 80 Polk Patrick Lovell get suckered in a non-border colonialist with a whole bunch of other people that got suckered for title theft? And if you have any questions, get a hold of Sam Bushman up in American Fork, Utah. Old Sam Bushman will explain it to you, Patrick Lovell. And out-of-control fraud. Get Chris Schwecker and Professor William Black to explain that out-of-control fraud and all these real estate schemes and swindles and scams. Now, on to Memorial Day. I've got friends that are very familiar with the reality and the fact that my father was a Second World War Navy combat pilot, Pacific Fleet. He was a carrier pilot. And if y'all want to, honor the memory of veterans that served this country honorably in war, why don't you give the Witham family back the large tract of land you swindled them out of on Harris Bay on Lake George. Yeah. You see, Sheriff James LaFar, when I went down to that open records examination at Colony on 50 Wolf Road in I guess that was 75 maybe. I went down, I wanted to look at all the records that the Environmental Conservation Department had on my parents. So I wrote an open records request. They granted it. And when I got down to the 50 Wolf Road, they took me to a large filing cabinet room and handed me two big old thick files on my mother and father, Clifford and Anita Witham. Hell, I hadn't started looking into them for a couple of minutes, Sheriff LaFar. I hadn't looked 2 minutes into these files, and all of a sudden some jackass clown in a light green Oxford shirt and green slacks, some kind of DEC law enforcement executive, I guess, he starts demanding I give him the files because I can't look at those files. He keeps telling me I can't look at the files and to give him the files. I told him, no, this is open records inspection. So he stomps off all mad. He brings back an armed New York State Conservation Ranger and starts demanding I give him the files again. And I told the ranger, I said, this is open records. I didn't just wander in off the street and guess. I didn't guess where my parents' files were. And that's something, Jimmy LaFar, that's part of the story. That's pretty interesting. How I got my parents' files at DEC headquarters in my hands. What did I do, Jim? Did I guess which filing cabinet they were in? So in any event, the ranger walks off, and man, this executive in the light green Oxford shirt and green slacks, man, he gets all mad and goes stomping off, and then, I don't know, maybe 2 minutes later, less, he comes barging back in the room and he attacks me, physically attacks me. Knocks me over backwards, slamming me to the floor, Jim LaFar. He slammed me to the floor and ripped the files out of my arms as he's sticking his foot in my balls. In my balls, right in my guts. Yeah, he wants some files. I can't inspect those files, even though it's a lawful inspection, Jimmy LaFar. And I'm saying, Jimmy LaFar, isn't that fascinating? That's a fascinating story, isn't it? They had targeting investigation files on my parents. I want those files, DEC. I was never allowed to finish the inspection. Where are those files? And I want them. And Jimmy LaFar, I show up at DEC headquarters. They take me up to a filing cabinet room. I didn't know where the hell that filing cabinet room was. I didn't know which filing cabinet my parents' files were in. What the hell, Jimmy LaFar? If this had been a homicide, if this had been a conspiracy to commit murder, you think there's something odd with this whole scenario, Sheriff Jimmy LaFar? And that's going to the Warren County Board of Supervisors, too. I want all the records on my father's arrest and my father's incarceration, preventing him from bidding at that foreclosure sale. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. I want the records. And especially what I want on this Memorial Day, was my father ever found guilty of anything? What was the adjudication after the trial of my father's incarceration? It wasn't just an arrest, ladies and gentlemen. They locked him up. And they let him go with no bond, no appearance ticket, nothing. Was he guilty or was he innocent at that foreclosure sale? Jimmy LaFar. I want these answers, Warren County. And Letitia James and Governor Kathy Hochul and Letitia James, I want the answers to all these questions. Have a wonderful Memorial Day 2026.